Good morning. Welcome to Wellspring. Hi, Zoomland. Glad you're here. You'll be muted throughout the service, so we'll unmute you so you can talk to everybody after the service is over. My name is Judy Bethman, and I'm part of your Sunday, September 3rd, 2023 service team. We have a few announcements. First, we have early birds meet Sunday mornings at 9:30 via Zoom. The link is in the weekly email and on the website. Upcoming speakers for September. Today we have our Dr. Edward, and on the 13th, Reverend Sandy will be here. On the 20th, Reverend Kamatara, and then we'll finish month with Dr. Edward. The Thursday evening group still meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. We're continuing the series with Greg Braden called Missing Links. The Unity Church has an upcoming event that our Barry Shaw has put together titled Something for Everyone, an afternoon of musical celebrations. Do you have something peculiar, something? Yeah, okay. Okay, tickets are $20 and it's September 9th. That's next week, right? September 9th? Okay, at CSL. As you can see, all of our favorite musicians are participating. See Barry for tickets, which he left at home today. So you'll have...
You can pick them up at the door.
You can pick them up at the door. Okay. Our September get-together is on Saturday, September 23rd at the Brannigan Cultural Center. The title is Trinity Legacies of Nuclear Testing, A People's Perspective. I'm going to read this. With collaboration from the Tularosa Basin Downwinders Consortium and 17 jury artists, this empowering and impactful exhibit exposes the long-term effects and ramifications of nuclear testing in New Mexico. Being from the Midwest, I knew all about the Trinity site, but I never thought about the Downwinders. And so I'm looking forward to that meeting. We will meet at 1:30 at the Brannigan Cultural Center, and then afterwards, if you choose, we can have dinner at the Amador following. And I understand they have yummy food. So we have a luncheon coming up, the Betty Minden Luncheon, Sunday, September 24th after the service. A salad lunch and drinks will be provided by the church. Betty was one of the founding members of Wellspring, so we're eager to see her smiling face. Science of Mind magazine has raised its price to $6. Why, you ask? Because when you get done with September, you turn it over and it's October. It is a double issue. So you're paying the same amount of money, but I think it was cheaper to have them ship in bulk rate like this. I can do this all day. Okay. Okay. All right. And lastly, our prayer team remains ready to serve and support you. You may submit a request via our webpage or give it to Edward. Our prayer team meets virtually on Tuesday afternoon at 4:15 to pray with you. Please consider sitting in your quiet space during that time. We know we are one in spirit and energy, and the energy of prayer knows no limits. Do I have a date wrong? Okay. All right. Well, sometimes the person who makes the slides gets into the wrong month. All right. As we take a deep breath in and release, and do it again, deep breath in and release. There's an old hymn called Breathe on Me, Breath of God, Fill Me with Life Anew. I had a joke one time that says life is hard. It's breathe, breathe, breathe all the time. Isn't it great that we don't have to think about all those autonomic parts of our bodies that Spirit has taken over and has provided for us? We invite Spirit into this house, into our hearts, into this world, to be present with us as it always is, and to know that everything is in divine, perfect order. For this we give great thanks, and so it is. All right, we have a new song of joy. Stand up. Okay, now we can put the la-las in the next time. Do you want to put the la-las in? Sure. Okay, we'll do that next time. You know, the la-la. Okay, okay. All right. What? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Let's read together our vision, our mission, and our affirmation statement. And if you can't see that, it's also on the front of our program here. It has a little Wellspring. Excuse me. Our vision: to elevate spiritual consciousness in our world. Our mission: to support individual spiritual quests through celebrations, study, counsel, loving fellowship, and service. Our affirmation: the presence of Spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and the day in which I live. And so it is. All right, now, I don't want you to think this is the Judy show, but I'm doing the special music too, so I didn't realize I was PA this morning also, so, okay, let me get a drink. And it's water. This is another song that Barry made me learn.
She learns fast, too.
Spread your wings and fly You belong to the sky. Many wonders lie waiting within your mind's eye. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe. Grant the clarity. Claim your destiny beyond perceived boundaries, possibilities. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe, you will receive. As you believe. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you for the guest music. Oh, you're quite welcome. The reading for today is sort of different because I didn't know what Edward was going to speak about. So, as I was coming over the Mormon Tabernacle, which I have on a radio station, was singing the Lord is my shepherd. And as I was listening to that, I was thinking, well, how often do we go back to the Bible stuff and pick and choose what is a new thought? So I'm going to say it first, and then we'll pick and choose, okay? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me into the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest before me a table before my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Typical new thought, right? We don't want for anything. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Well, who wrote this? Who wrote this? A shepherd named David. And he was a shepherd. And so green pastures was nice grass to lay on rather than the stickly weeds, right? It makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. Well, he does that because the sheep need to have waters. And when we drink in the still waters of the Spirit, right? He restores my soul. Well, wouldn't it be nice if our souls just would reign all the time and be strong and healthy. But let's face it, we're human. And there are some times when we go into a blue funk. But spirit can restore our soul. Restores our soul. He leads me into the path of righteousness for his name's sake. I don't know what that means. Anybody have a clue? The path of righteousness for his name. Vicki, do you have a clue? No. Okay. He leads me the path for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. You know, they do this a lot at funerals, right? Or transition services. Fearing evil in the shadow of death is not new thought. Fearing no evil is new thought. Fear no. Thou preparest a table for me in the presence of my enemies. Though I anointest my head with oil, my cup overflows. I like that one. There was a movie out where the grandmother would say when she hugged her grandkids, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And that's typical New Thought. And I dwell within the house of the Lord forever. I think that's backwards. The house of the Lord dwells in me, in my heart, forever. All right, that is the reading this morning. Okay, it's my pleasure to present our beloved Dr. Edward.
Thank you, Judy. So it's September. You know, in the old days, school used to start the day after. And now we have this year-round school in Las Cruces, whatever that means. So children are already out of chaos. Children are already back in school. The buses are already trying to run, things like that. So the other day, one of our members, Edwin, I feel like I'm a little loud. The other day, one of our members said something like, once I began to think of this as Earth School, things started to make more sense. You need a little more there. I suspect most of us have heard the expression and might have incorporated that into our worldview at this point in our lives. But I thought I might explore this concept in a little bit more detail. So if you do a web search on the term Earth School, we're going to find a large number of hits. So what I'll be sharing today is a little bit of my inspiration and a little bit of information I found online. So let's dive into the topic. First, as someone points out, Earth is soul school, or school for the soul, right? And it's probably not that strange of a thought. However, what it does is it brings to mind is that we are souls living in bodies. So that's very important. The we that we refer to is a spiritual being that is having a human experience, not a human being having a spiritual experience. So it's often occasionally said, shall we say, why did we sign up for this gig in the first place? You know, some people feel like it's not a school at all, but a prison, right? But I tell you, we didn't come to Earth School by accident. We could have remained in the spiritual realm, call it heaven if you want, if we'd wanted to. You know, we could have been sitting on the cloud with the harp and playing all day, and nothing much would have been happening as far as our evolution was concerned. And one of the authors I saw suggested there might even be a waiting list of souls in heaven who are applying to come to Earth School because the experience here is so exciting. The experiences we can get here on Earth School cannot be gotten anywhere else. And that's why we choose Earth and the dense bodies that we inhabit here on Earth. And it is only in the experience of contraction that time provides that we can have relationships, struggle, and pain, and be able to experience the human feelings and choices that allow us to grow. So it's a place to expand and stretch our consciousness at an accelerated rate. And while the spirit world is also a school for expansion and growth, it's much more gradual in nature. This is, reading from other folks' definition of Earth School. So we can have comfort knowing that we came to this realm to grow exponentially because we wanted to accelerate our desire for soul wisdom. We wanted to become more loving, more kind, more fearless, and release any judgments we carried. So we came to Earth School to have physical experiences, and from these experiences, we learn valuable lessons that enable us to evolve spiritually. However, Earth School does not consist only of study and work. We also come here to enjoy the intensity and the sensuality of the physical world. Okay. So here's another question after we've figured out why we signed up for this gig is who sets the curriculum? Well, is it like grades 1 through 12 where the state sets the curriculum? Or is it more like a post-secondary school? Even when you go to college, if you choose a major, they've kind of set up your curriculum. So it might be a little bit more like a general studies degree in college, where you can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So we set our curriculum based on what we need to round out our soul. Okay? So before we come, we know or knew that Earth School would be difficult, frustrating, and stressful. But we were confident that we could handle it because we have carefully planned and prepared for it. And we have established the curriculum we're going to follow, or disregard when we get there. We've also identified the teachers we will meet up with, and we've even selected our parents, where we will live, and the bodies we will inhabit while here. We have carefully pre-planned everything to maximize our learning experience in Earth School. So this life is part of a carefully crafted, holy curriculum and school for our divine, eternal souls. We chose to come here to learn and grow through the experiences that duality and contrast provide to expand and see ourselves from different perspectives. A lot of times we say we look out and we don't quite like what we're seeing. But one way of learning is through contrast, right? So we place ourselves in a situation. We say, I know I don't like that anymore. Okay? Interestingly enough, perhaps, when we come here, we deliberately choose to forget what we really are, and so that helps make the experience real, or it seem real anyway. And we even choose to forget why we came here in most cases. If you found yourself in a maze, but you had a little map on how to get out, what's the excitement of that, right? So it's in the solving of the maze, if you will, that brings the wisdom. So I thought, well, can you skip a grade? Well, that's an interesting thought. Yeah. So it's like, I'd say yes and no, but kind of depends on what you mean by skipping a grade. If it means do you have to spend an entire year at one grade level, well then yes, you can skip a grade. You know, you can challenge a class or test out of it. Or do you have to spend 12 years in school enduring, or do you just pass the GED? So how does this apply? Well, part of it is that it's also said that at this time in Earth's evolution, there is a heightened or an increased vibration going on. And because of that, it's possible to fast track our lessons. So the only purpose of our experiences are so that we can learn the lessons. And maybe when we planned this life, we thought it would take us 2 years or 3 years or whatever. But, you know, we don't have to necessarily endure all that pain and suffering to gain that understanding. Once we gain the understanding, it's all over. And we don't have to spend another minute rolling in the gunk, so to speak. You know, there's that kind of expression that says, I always seem to find what I'm looking for in the last place I look. Right? It's like, well, the same with lessons. Once you pass them, there's no need to have the experience again. Now, for me, I've noticed in the past at least, I seem to have that situation come back around one more time, just to confirm for me that I'm not reacting the way I used to react. So that's another way to greet one of these things. Rather than saying, oh, there's that crap again, say, oh, okay, I guess I don't need to experience that anymore. Bye-bye. So, if we're in school, we must have some lessons we need to learn, right? So, I have 2 or 3 of them here I want to talk about. So the first lesson, which I guess it's a favorite of mine because I've experienced it, is that, and I heard this years and years ago, there's no such thing as a victim. There are no victims. Nothing happens by accident. Nothing. Nothing happens by accident. When we feel victimized and feel like life is happening to us, we do ourselves a disservice because we don't grow. Victimhood keeps us stuck, creating the same experiences over and over. And I say when we choose victimhood, we give away our power. You know, if it's someone or something else's fault, we can't do anything about it, right? Therefore, we're powerless. On the other hand, if we can blame someone else for our situation, we don't have to look within. And you know what sometimes our greatest fear is, that we're going to find this horrible person inside of us. So it's their fault. And really, all that it's saying is that here's an opportunity to see some error in your thinking. And as you turn that error into wisdom, then you can actually see that gorgeous creature that's in there, that spiritual being. So there's power that comes when we take full responsibility for our individual lives and choose to accept what comes our way as if we had chosen it. Wouldn't that be different? When you see something that you don't quite like coming your way, say, I chose this. Wow, I chose this. And of course, at some level, we did choose it, right? I mean, it's not, we attract to ourselves that which we need and that which we want to overcome, again, so we can see that magnificent spirit inside. As long as we're pushing it away, we can't use these experiences, shall we say, as a mirror. And the mirror is not to judge ourselves and others, but to learn the lessons that each experience invariably gives us. So I want to talk about a couple of books here. We did this book in Early Birds. It's called Your Soul's Plan, Discovering the Real Meaning of the Life You Planned Before You Were Born. And in it, there's a number of stories of folks. It talks about your pre-birth planning. It talks about, deafness and blindness, accidents and so forth. And there was this one particular story in here about this young lady named Christina who, just by a stroke of fate, we'll say, picked up a package bomb, blew up in her hands and her face, and she spent many years going through recovery. She was blind for quite a while. She had shrapnel in her face and her eyes, and it was a miserable scene. And she said, this is the question of the author. Says, Christina, would it be accurate to say that the bombing was an act of service to you on the part of the other soul being the bomber? And she says without hesitating, it was a gift. Would you say you're grateful for it? Yes, totally grateful. So this was after she had gone through all of this stuff. She realized that it had brought her to a place that nothing else could have brought her to. And then she talked about, I'll skip that for a moment because it's about my next topic. So today in Early Birds, we're reading this mini course for life. And one of the topic areas was called victimhood. And it's real short, but I'm going to read it. It says, believing we are victims sets the stage for us to see value in anger and attack thoughts, and to feel that love has forsaken us. At any moment, we can choose not to be a victim. We can do this by recognizing that while we falsely seem to believe that we were victims of others and or other circumstances in the past, at this moment, it is no longer happening. What is actually affecting us now is how we look at and think about these past situations. Our current distress has to do with our attitudes about the past. While we may not have had control over what happened before, we do have control over our minds at this moment. Thus, we have the ability to heal them, thereby giving up our present role as victim. All healing takes place in the present, not the past or the future. When we choose to let go of the painful past, only love remains. I thought the first sentence said that we see value to feel that love has forsaken us. Wow. So the next thing that we might come to learn is forgiveness. And that kind of fits in with the story of the lady. She said one day she was walking across campus and she had basically a spiritual experience. And she said, it was as though someone had picked the world off my shoulders. The sense of forgiveness that overcame me was very profound. In fact, I could hardly move for a period of time. Then I started to feel elated, and I realized there wasn't any necessity for judgment of other people. A neutrality existed that I could live by. Forgiveness was the most critical piece to move forward from a victimization frame of mind. We hear about people who forgive the murderer and so forth. But as long as you're stuck in that, you can't do what you're here to do. And then I I'm not going to apologize for pulling out this other book, which is The Little Soul in the Sun. And this is a story about a little soul who's up in heaven or whatever with God, and saying, you know, I want to learn some other things. And God says, well, what do you want to learn? And the little soul says, I want to learn forgiveness, but there's a problem. So what's the problem? Well, up here in heaven, there's nobody to forgive. So what are we going to do? And another little soul steps up and says, I volunteer to go down and be that person that you can learn to forgive with. So, another aspect of this was the second soul, who was going to be this one who needed to be forgiven, said, as I lower my vibrations to be that person that you need to forgive, I will probably forget who I really am. So you need to help me remember. So I ask all of us here, is there someone or some situation in your life that you need to forgive? Nah, right? We all have this backpack we carry around with us. It's full of grudges, imagined slights, oversights, some from our childhood. Do we keep adding to the load? Or do we pull one out, look at it, deal with it, and let it go? Hopefully we don't pull one out, look at it, decide to put it back in and keep it, right? That might be a little counterproductive. And so I asked you, is there someone or some situation in your life that you need to forgive? Well, I'm going to say, let's recast that. So rather than saying, do you need to forgive them? Let's say, is there someone in your life that you want to forgive? Because at some level, you know that you want to forgive them. Doesn't matter. Think of the worst thing that has happened to you. Down deep. I mean, you know, we hide these spiritual truths from our mental. Deep down inside, we know that if we don't forgive them, that we're holding ourselves back. This is a truth that we carry in there. So that's why I say we want to forgive them. We want to resolve these things. So as we talk to our intellect, you know, just think of the relief you would when you no longer have to carry this grudge around. And contrary to the thing with the little soul is like, think about how your vibration can increase when you let go of things. So as we overcome this perception of separation from one another, all that's left is that great spirit saying, come closer, my beloved, come closer. So when we reach the point that we no longer need the experience, we will no longer attract the situations. Plain and simple. I was trying to think of an expression I'd heard, so I think I'm getting it right. It says, it'll feel better when it's over, right? Does it feel better? No. Well, then it's not over. You know. A little expression, I believe it was from Peggy Shin, came up. She said, your attitude determines your altitude. Right? That was her, right? Wasn't it? Yeah. So much of what we read in self-help or spiritual help books are alternate ways of looking at a situation, which gives us a different perspective on it. You know, the old walk a mile in someone else's shoes, change your thinking or choose your thinking. So I'm going to kind of reframe this, and I says, choose your attitude to change your altitude. Again, very proactive. And I get weekly emails from Rhonda Byrne, who was the author of The Secret. And this week it said, forget about watching your thoughts and just make the words you say very positive. It's kind of hard to watch our thoughts. It's a little louder to watch our words. Anyway, I love this expression that someone else wrote. It says, our life lessons are always undergirded by love. Wow. It says we are here to love ourselves and other people. What looks like love in each situation is completely different. It could be learning healthy boundaries, forgiveness, empathy, compassion, understanding, releasing judgment and selfishness, listening, saying no, humility, service, courage, standing up for ourselves, and so forth. A lot of those, I would just say, are wrapped up in true self-care. Right. And compassion is such a beautiful concept or expression in my mind. We sort of have sympathy, empathy, and then compassion. And it kind of fits together with forgiveness as well. And we spoke of that earlier. But I looked up in the dictionary on compassion. I thought, man, this is pretty enlightened. It says, temporarily suspending judgment so that you can appreciate others' perspectives or situations when they are different from your own. And then one of my favorite, along the lines of love, is I say karma is really love in action. You know, in the past, we've tended to use karma as more like a tool for revenge. Somebody passes you on the interstate. Ah, the cops are going to pick him up. It's karma. You know, it's kind of a punishment. Well, you know, as we say that about other people, we're believing it about ourselves. So let's recast that and say karma is love. And you know, my mother used to say, speaking of that type of karma, it says, mind your own business. Now, we had 6 kids, and we were always getting in each other's stuff, right? So mind your own business. And it just got too hard to say such the MYOB, you know? And we knew what she meant. You know, we're in somebody else's stuff. So karma's kind of like that, or that thing on the street, as I was referring to. That's kind of like minding somebody else's business. Yeah, don't worry about it. Our only business is our own. So for me, I want to redefine karma, and I do, as just clearing out the dross to dissolve the feelings of separation and to help me shine more brightly and see the truth and the light more clearly. And I also think of it when I encounter a situation, is that this, you know, it's like I'm going through. Well, we say we're going through. Well, that means it's on its way out. So whatever you're running into is on its way out. It's not on its way in. So since I started out talking about this as a soul school, I'm going to suggest we do a little exercise together. And this exercise is going to consist of some questions for you to ponder in your own silence today. And then we will transition into our prayer, which we typically give after the talk. So get comfortable. Some of you, that might be to close your eyes and put your feet on the floor and just take that position of repose without falling asleep. Yeah. Think, ponder for a moment. Now I'm going to back up just a little bit. This is not a negative exercise. Just remember that. What is my greatest challenge at this moment? What is my greatest challenge at this moment? Be brave. You've got some bigger ones. All right, just recognize that for a moment. What am I learning from this? Let your intuition speak to you. What am I learning from this? And if you have trouble with that, recast it. If someone else brought me this situation, what would I tell them the lesson was that they were learning? What am I learning from this? Now, pretend for a moment that you have already mastered this lesson. How do I feel now that this challenge is behind me? How do I feel knowing I don't have to deal with this anymore? Just bring yourself into that feeling. As I said earlier, we are undergirded with love. This Mother, Father, God, Spirit, sense of divinity is in us, through us, all around us, loves us, supports us, sees and understands what we are going through, provides all the tools we need to pass through even the darkest nights. So just in the same way that we have let the lesson of this challenge settle in and have brought ourselves to the feeling of being beyond that, we know that there are others in our community that are experiencing challenges that perhaps they don't at this moment see their way through. So we just hold this knowledge and this understanding, this energy of success, this energy of passing through challenges. We hold that within ourselves and within this community here in person and on Zoom. We just become the beacons, just exuding this love, this understanding, this joy of overcoming and of learning and of progressing in this school of earth, this school for our souls. As we hold this again for ourselves, we know that this goes out to everyone, our friends and our family, the larger community, the United States of America, the entire world, and to the greater cosmos. As each of us have lifted ourselves today to a little higher vibration, we know that this is impacting the entire cosmos. It is lifting the entire cosmos. It is aiding those who also are here to grow. So we give thanks for this. We give thanks for this understanding that we are so connected to one another and connected to the divine, and that the entire universe is operating on our team, in our favor. So we just take a deep breath and we just let it go. We know that right here, right now, is completed. You've given it to the divine. You've given it to God. We no longer are bound by it. And so it is. Yes. All right. Next up, we have Judy and Barry doing some special music.
Well, this is a song about how to handle victimhood. Imagine Imagine that. Does this come up easy? Okay. Ready? When you walk through a storm, keep your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. When you walk through a storm, hold your head, hold that head up high, and don't be afraid of that dark. At the end of that storm, what a golden sky, and that sweet, sweet silver song of a lark. Oh, wow. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Keep walking on, walk on with hope in your heart, and you'll never, no, you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk, you'll never walk, you'll never walk alone. Walk on, walk on.
Good job, Judy. Yeah. Ah, all right. Now it's time for our offering. Do I have someone back there that can bring the offering basket up? I guess we have Judy to do that today. It's the Judy show. Usually we have the other Judy. Oh.
It's a form of Judaism.
Ah. Thank you, Judy. You know, we see these offerings. We see the physicality of it, which helps provide for this facility and for the tithes that we pay out to other communities. But we also know that our offerings are an acknowledgement of the abundance of the universe. So we just give thanks for that abundance. We see this basket overflowing, knowing that we are here undergirded with love and abundance. And so it is. Thank you, Judy. And we certainly want to acknowledge those folks who have contributed to the production of this service. We have, starting in the front, Barry and Judy, and we have Edwin on the camera. And we've got Brenda back there being the techie today. Thank you, Brenda. We couldn't do Zoom without those of you in the back, and we certainly couldn't do the service without our music. So we're very appreciative for all of that. And lastly, thank you for joining us in Zoomland here in the sanctuary. Thank you for being here as well. And I just want to let you know that after service, we have some treats over in the social hall for additional conversation if you choose, and just, some treats and getting to know folks. So now please stand if you are able and read with me the benediction, and this will be followed by our congregational song. Spirit in the midst of us is mighty. Joy, peace, and eternal life are our true nature and flow through us into the world, and so it is.